All right, exciting stuff. Returning after doing the quick coat epoxy to seal these little practice frames in. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. This practice frame was sitting on this tape, and you flip it over and there's a little bit of deformation, which obviously on a real project I'd have to clean that up. I'm gonna practice cleaning that up on this one, so I get to learn where would I use a chisel, where can I get away with sanding, where do I have to get with a planer. But I'm really excited about this. What I did notice right there, kind of hard to tell. There's some dry spots in there. So a couple of things I think happened there. One, either I missed it, very good possibility, or two, the epoxy has soaked into the wood. I did not realize it could do that and leave a bare spot. But I was watching a stone coat video where the demonstrators were using art epoxy, and they actually used 3 coats because of that very reason. Now this is a quick coat. I think it's a little bit thicker. I could be wrong. But now I'll know that I may need to be prepared to do extra coats. Now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to mix up some additional quick coat to cover that spot. What I'm going to do is when I pour this one with my deep pour or my thick pour, what I'm going to do is just take a little dab of that and clean that little spot up right there, and that's how I'll fix that. So now on to pouring the epoxy in this. So I ran into a couple of challenges. So one video that I saw, the individual was using quick coat just like I did here. And then when they used a quick coat, then they put the workpiece into the form, and that kind of locks the workpiece into the form, which is really convenient because then I don't have to clamp it in order to keep it from floating when I'm coming back in with the regular pour. But the challenge that I now realize is I need to sand these edges where my epoxy is going to adhere to. Otherwise, according to the stone coat guys, the epoxy that I'm going to pour will not adhere to this wood. So I need to sand that. But when I sand that, now I'm going to get a little bit of dust and I'm going to scuff up this mold release spray that I've got in there. So 2 ways that I think I could resolve that. One, I could destroy the form, pull it out, sand this, and then rebuild the form. And then I could put new mold release down and I'd be fine. I don't want to do that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to sand it in place, and then I'm going to take some paste wax and probably with a real tiny spackling knife or maybe just a paper towel, I'm going to redo that interior so that the epoxy that I pour won't stick to my form, I hope. Having to do this again, I just wouldn't try to do it this way. I would just do it freehand. I would just seal the wood freehand just like this. Then build the form, drop it in, and I'd be fine with that. And I'd have to clamp it down, and that's not a big deal, I hope. Okay, so that's now on to the actual pouring. Okay, to make this pour, I'm going to use this Stone Coat Supercast. I don't know the right term. I've heard the term thick pour, and I've heard the term deep pour. So I don't know if one of those terms fits better than the other for this, but basically this takes a long time to cure, a long time to set up, and is meant for pours that are fairly deep. And therein lies a problem. So when Rob Ryan from Stone Coat spent some time with me, again, I'm extremely thankful that he did. What he told me is that most projects using this kind of epoxy, I need to be shooting for a 3/4 inch depth. The volume that is necessary to generate the heat, which then makes for a good cure, means I've got to be working at about a 3/4 inch depth. So 3/4 inch depth here, no problem on this wood, except what I want to do in order to replicate the project that I'm going to do is I want to pour one thin layer about 1/4 of an inch and I want it to get hard enough that I can drop a couple of coins on there and maybe some other little knickknacks, some flowers or something like that. And then I'll finish out with the remainder of the depth. That first 1/4 inch pour, that may not set up right. And that was one of the things that Rob was telling me. It may not set up right because it's not thick enough. And then since I've only got another 1/2 inch on top of that, that may not set up right. So what I'm hoping is when I lay that first layer in, that really what I'm going to, I'm not going to wait until it completely cures. I'm going to wait until I think it's hard enough to hold up a coin so that the coin doesn't sink, but still has not completely cured. And then if I come over with the rest of it on top, then hopefully those 2 layers working together will end up getting enough heat and give me the curing finish that I want. So probably have to cross a few fingers on that, do a couple of rain dances or something like that to make it work. But we'll see. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna level this with some shims and some popsicle sticks. I'm gonna mix my epoxy up, put on my gloves and glasses, and make a pour. See you when I come back. Okay, so first 1/4 inch poured down. Really hope this sets up right. Now I'm just gonna check it probably every hour to see where it gets kind of hard enough to hold up the coins. I'm gonna use these coins. I'm gonna clean them up in some alcohol and probably get like some sprigs of rosemary and some of our flower petals and throw them in there and crossing my fingers, hoping that it all cures just right. So here's a funny thing. I'm using this torch to heat up the epoxy and get the bubbles out. Of course, I also have a heat gun in case I run out of gas or in case I can't get this torch to work well. I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot of experience with that style of torch, and it does confound me a little bit. I'm sure I'll get better as I practice. But I had a pretty hot flame, and if you see there, I got a little bit of a burn mark. So we'll call that an artistic feature, but obviously it wasn't a desired feature. All right, I'll see you next time. All right, 11 hours later, that first 1/4 inch of epoxy got hard enough, yet was still tacky, that I believe should be able to support these coins. So I went ahead and laid those coins in and then finished out the 3/4 inch epoxy to finish this off. I did heat this up with the heat gun, but you might be able to see you got a little bit of splash. That's a lot from the heat gun pushing the epoxy out from that central area. So I went back to the torch and I had much greater control this time. Now I did want to throw in some flowers into this, but then as I was thinking on my drive home, I've really got no way to keep those flowers from floating up to the top and then just getting destroyed during my sanding process. So I think there's probably a way to glue those down with some UV glue, but I just wasn't ready to do that. So I basically skipped trying to stick some rosemary and some small flower petals in there. I may try to do that on the second one. We'll see how it does. Anyway, I think it's coming out pretty good. Lots of lessons learned, some complexities, but I'm feeling really good about this. All right, so I am really excited in how this came out. Obviously, it's still in the form, but this good and solid. It seems like it's curing appropriately. Now, according to the directions, I need to wait 7 days before I work with this. So at 7 days, I'll break it out of the mold, and then it'll be my first shot at using a router to even and flatten all of this. Probably hard to see with my phone, but there's a little bit of spill. I want to get it nice and smooth, and then I want to be able to treat that wood. So yeah, I was really excited about this. I'm kind of really happy with how this is turning out.